Now, this leads our bulletin. The National Prosecuting Authority has closed the alleged sexual assault case of a 7-year-old Matatiele schoolgirl in the Eastern Cape. NPA spokesperson, Advocate Mphumzi Zuzile, says the minor was examined by experts and there was no evidence pointing to sexual assault. He added that a police docket on the matter doesn't implicate any suspect.
The NPA confirms that the prosecutors in the Eastern Cape Division have declined to prosecute anyone in respect of suspicions of sexual assault case involving a minor girl in Matatiele in the Eastern Cape. This decision is informed by a thorough assessment of evidence contained in a docket that was submitted by the police. They concluded that there is no evidence of rape or sexual assault after the minor girl was interviewed and examined by medical practitioners and forensic social workers. We took a decision as the NPA to release a statement today in view of the public outcry and the interest generated in the matter, even though last year, November, when the decision was taken, no statement was issued.
The Eastern Cape Social Development MEC Bukiwe Fanta has expressed disappointment and outrage over the NPA's decision not to prosecute in the alleged sexual assault case of the minor. The MEC spokesperson Mphumzi Zuzile says this raises critical concerns about the protection of vulnerable children in South Africa.
As the decision not to prosecute sends a troubling message about our commitment to justice for victims of social violence, particularly our children. She said, we cannot allow such acts to go unpunished, as this undermines the very fabric of our society and the safety of our children. The MEC says the entire country needs to ensure that every child feels safe and supported, and that perpetrators of such heinous crimes are held accountable. She says it's essential for the healing for the victim and the broader community. The MEC also highlighted that the importance of community involvement in safeguarding children and encouraging parents and guardians to remain vigilant and report any suspected cases of abuse. She says the society must come together to protect our children and ensure that they have support they need to recover from such traumas.
Director at Wise for Africa, Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo joins us for more. Good evening, Advocate. Thank you very much for joining us on the late edition. Your reaction to this decision by the NPA to not take the alleged rape matter to court?
Good evening, Fundo, and to the viewers too. Listen, I think the NPA would have been informed by credible work that was done, and a docket placed before them that when they assessed and reviewed that docket, came to the conclusion that there are no prospects of a successful prosecution, right? So where do we need to cast our eyes and attention on is the South African Police Service and the team that worked on this case and investigated this case. Because if the work was shoddy and was not adequate, there was no way that a prosecutor was comfortable in taking it on and going ahead with the prosecution. So I think the last paragraph of the statement issued by the NPA is very instructive for all of us to concentrate on. It says to us, that last paragraph, that the police are now investigating this matter, and we don't know what that means, and if it means that they are still following leads and doing what they are supposed to do. We don't have the full story, but in as far as prosecuting this case is concerned, it would seem like it's a shut. The door is shut, and that is now on the shoulders of the South African Police Service to convince the South African public that everything was done proper and what kind of investigations they undertook to come to the conclusion for that a prosecution can come to the conclusion that there's not enough evidence, because you need to arm your prosecutors with a solid case, and it can't be wishy-washy. And it would seem that in this case, if they are telling us that the minor child was interviewed and they would have known how to go about interviewing a 9-year-old, and they would have brought experts into the fold to ensure that the child is comfortable and the kinds of questions that are posed to the child is able to understand. The second thing is that there would have been an examination. And when you read the statement from the NPA, it says that and listening to the spokesperson of the NPA, that there was an examination of the child done, and nothing was found. But what is concerning to me is that this happened in November last year, right? Mm-hmm. And the parents, especially the mother, did not hear from the South African Police Service on the status of the case. It forced her to come out into the public domain and raise her frustration in not getting anywhere with the South African Police Service, let alone the NPA.
Mm-hmm. So essentially you're saying that we need to cast our eyes more on just SABC itself, because as you say that here when you're speaking about prosecutors, they would only be deciding on what SABC the investigating officers would have brought to them to see if we can actually secure a conviction in this matter. But it's been stated, as you say, that there was no conclusive evidence to prove that there was sexual assault in the form of foreign DNA inside of her. So in that respect, couldn't SABC also come out to say that we also had our hands tied? There was very little that could be done in that respect. We just presented to the prosecutor everything that we were able to gather.
So, Mfundo, let's also be clear that the sexual act or the rape itself would have taken a different form. It might not have been a penetration. It might have been using an object or anything, right? So we can't just focus on the DNA and say if in the absence of the DNA there is no rape, right? So, and that's why I'm saying South African police should be thorough. So by the time they come out openly to the public, they have done everything in their power to give us the confidence that this matter was investigated and investigated thoroughly, right? Mm-hmm. So since November, you have been sitting and seized with this case, right? You don't communicate. There's a public outcry in April. You all scrambling as the South African police, as the NPA, everyone is scrambling. The Minister of Police is also involved, makes an accusation on the principal. Oh, it is madness, right? And it tells you that the system is not working when all of that happens. Because if indeed that in November, the South African police was already certain that there was no sexual assault or rape, surely we shouldn't be where we are now, and we shouldn't have had the Minister of Police, everyone chipping in and making bold statements without credible evidence and for something that can be corroborated. So for me, that's concerning. That let's allow the system to do what it's supposed to do, and by the time we attack the system, we attack it on the basis that we know that they were given enough time and tools to do a thorough, proper investigation in this matter, and by the time they hand over the docket to this National Prosecuting Authority, it's a watertight case. It doesn't look like it was a case with this the rape of this young minor, and I think there's more that's still going to come, because I'm sitting on the last paragraph of that statement from the NPA that tells me that the South African Police Service is still looking. I don't know what they're looking for and looking at, but we'll be watching and waiting to see what they come up with.
Investigation. But it's just that aspect of time not relative in this respect. And also there are the dynamics around, you've got a family that is deeply aggrieved, and now as traumatized as they are, they want this matter to be expedited, and that places unnecessary pressure on these SABCs to actually move with speed, and that's when the thoroughness is compromised. So is there perhaps not even a broader conversation that we as society need to have here? That perhaps give SABCs the space to actually thoroughly investigate, because sometimes you find that they might almost succumb to the public pressure and want sometimes in instances to quickly make arrests, and then you've got a case that is being remanded for further investigation. You've got people that might be wrongfully arrested, then you've got people that are being sued, and that's money that is taken from us because this is coming from state coffers. So do we not need to discuss as society ourselves that in as much as we are aggrieved, perhaps we should give SAPS the space to actually thoroughly investigate and not put unnecessary pressure on them to immediately effect arrests?
No, absolutely. What is missing in all of this thing, and you would hear from many South Africans, is the lack of communication for the South African Police Service. I don't think there's anyone who wants to rush an investigation, but it's for me as a victim or a survivor of someone who's reported a case to be kept abreast of where my case is, right? And what we have seen over the years, and we've got the experience, is that once people lay charges and a matter, you are given a case number, if you are lucky to get even an SMS that acknowledges that your case has been opened, or even get a case number, it will be, you are lucky. And for those who get a case number, you wait to hear what is happening with your case. We've got many people who have been waiting to hear and who write to us as the organization to say, we've been waiting. I haven't heard from my investigating officer. And that's what we've been asking for, communication. So when you update the complainants all the time, in a week's time, you say, just be aware that we are busy with the investigations. We are following up. We just inform you that the matter is still open and is still running, and we will let you know once it's ready for trial, right? Or that the matter has been, because most times people don't hear from the South African Police Service or the investigating officers until they hear either on social media that the case has been withdrawn because of, and nolo prosecute has been issued by the NPA because they have declined to investigate, and you are not told the reasons why they've declined to investigate. So for all of us as South Africans, what we need is consistent communication from SAPS to let you know how far your case is, so that you track your case. So let's have a tracking system. Let's have a tracking system so that we're all comfortable that something is happening. And I'm willing to wait 6 months. I'm willing to wait 9 months, especially when I know that something is being done, because someone is making it their responsibility to make me aware.
Advocate, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's Director Advice for Africa, Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo speaking to us.